All right, welcome everyone. Good evening. My name is Anand, your host with Talk with Anand, CGY underscore Anand. For those who are just joining us, appreciate you joining us this Sunday evening. We are talking about the Calgary Flames and Wranglers this evening. I have a special guest as well joining in just a moment, but just as always, just want to quickly remind you our YouTube chat will be open soon as well. Our Twitter chat also will be open soon. Join us to ask questions, your thoughts, and share your ideas as well. This evening, I have Kent Wilson. You might recognize his name. He often pops up on Flames Nation, but I'll let him introduce himself. But Kent, welcome aboard. Thanks for doing this in a moment's notice. I know it was a bit of a short notice. Hope you're enjoying your evening, and
Mm.
thanks for joining the show. If you want to tell us about a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for people who don't know, I started writing about hockey probably 2004, so that's a long time ago now. Is back when blogs were a thing, started to come up, and I was a hobbyist for years, and then I started doing freelance work. I eventually launched SB Nation's Matchstick and Gasoline. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, but it was back in the day. Eventually, I became the lead editor at Flames Nation, and then the chief editor of the Nations Network for a few years. So I helped grow or launch many of the websites that you see on there now. And then I wrote for The Athletic for a couple of years as well. Before now, I'm mostly doing other things professionally, but I do still sometimes appear on Afterburner for Flames Nation and write about hockey for Post Media.
Yeah, cool extended experience compared to me. So thanks for joining once again, Kent. Just wanted to have you on because of your flame experience. You talk about all the flames. You have a cool Discord server as well. We'll talk about that more later on. But yeah, I wanted to start with talking about the Calgary Flames. So let's just do a quick segment change here, real quick. Calgary
Mhm.
Flames with Kent Wilson. So, Kent, my first question for you: what have you liked of this season so far, and what are some of your dislikes with the Calgary Flames thus far? I think that was one of the first topics we were going to discuss.
Yeah, well, I didn't have very high hopes for the team this year. I am a rebuild maximalist, so I didn't expect the team to come out and be Uh, very good. In fact, I think they're our bottom five roster in the NHL if you look at it. But they've played about as well as a roster I would expect them to. They're being floated a little bit by excellent goaltending, but they're in most games, right? They're competitive. They're not an easy out, which is kind of the worry when you're a fan heading into a rebuild season where you think a lot of the hockey is going to be kind of painful to watch, but it hasn't been like that. So that's been the most pleasant surprise for me so far. But individually, I like what I've seen from Connor Zary. I think he should have way more points than he does. He's been um, one of the most interesting, exciting players uh, night in, night out, I think. Of course, Dustin Wolf coming out and being one of the best goaltenders in the NHL through the first, 15 odd games so far is really, really good for the franchise, good for the player. Those are the big ones for me. I think Matt Coronado has come out and really started to establish himself as an NHLer too. So those are a lot of the highlights for me so far.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Most opens, Dustin Wolf, we thought he was not NHL ready, but with the few stretch of games he has proven that he's NHL ready. He battled, got his first career NHL shutter last night against or 2 nights ago against the Nashville Predators. Congratulations to him for that. And Mac Coronato as well. We talked about him. He got that small AHL stint with the Wranglers, and then now he's been tearing it up in the NHL as well, and he ever seems ready. So and then you talked about as well how the Flames never they have the grit, they have the comeback vision in them, and then they never gave up. All right, let's talk about the other side. What haven't you liked so far, and what would you like to see some improvements from the Flame side?
Well, I'm okay with the team losing, being a rebuild maximalist. But that said, there's still stuff to criticize on the team. Obviously, the power play is horrendous. It's consistently. I think it was all right for the first 3 to 5 games, and then it has been quite awful ever since. That's going to be. I'm going to be interested to see if they can do anything to fix it. I think Nazim Kadri's having a terrible season, quite frankly. Martin Pospisil, who I really liked last year and surprised me a lot, has come out of the gate very poorly this year. I think the shift to center has kind of hurt him badly, and he's kind of trying to refine his legs at the NHL level. Um, Miramanov had a really bad start, but I guess been better recently. But I liked what I saw out of him last year too. But the first 10 games out of him, he started to look like someone who's probably a seventh D man at best. But he's started to come around, so we'll see if he stabilizes at that level. I still don't love Jonathan Huberdeau, to tell you the truth. I may never be a fan of him. I just don't love his game. It's too complicated when it doesn't need to be. His underlying numbers have really fallen down the well recently too. He's near the bottom of the team in terms of shooting and chances. So none of that's great, but none of that's a huge surprise to me. So yeah, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. The power play definitely has dropped off recently. Especially, we saw that 5-on-3 against Nashville Predators. I think they got only one shot on net, and then it hasn't worked dynamically at all. So I agree with you. I don't know how they will fix it. Maybe they need young talent who can snipe at the goal, get some shots in, or become more dynamic. I guess they need that energy. They even tried, I think, putting Zari on power play one that didn't really work as well. So that will be something to discuss. And then yeah, a few players as well. I think Jonathan Huberdeau, we see some flashes of him sometimes in between, but then other games he's not that consistent like the power play itself. Martin Pospisil, yeah, we haven't been really too happy. He took a couple unnecessary penalties as well towards the end of the game that costed the Flames. And then Nazim Kadri as well. He hasn't shown that spark. Maybe he's still getting adjusted to this new season, but we haven't seen that offensive upside from him as well. All right, now Kent, I'll leave it up to you if you want to kind of do an open topic for the Calgary Flames. Anything you want to discuss, anything you want to ask me, or ask any of our viewers when it comes to Calgary Flames.
Well, probably the most interesting discussion for the team right now is what happens if Wolf continues to be elite for the rest of the season. One, he should be in the Calder race, obviously, if he continues to do it. He'll need to play more games, I think. You're never going to be in the Calder discussion if you only play 30 or 40 games, but we'll leave that up to the team. But the question is, if the team continues to be floated by excellent goaltending, they may place close to the playoffs just because of that, which would be kind of a disaster for the club. You don't want to complain about that as a fan because you're looking a gift horse in the mouth when it comes to a young player playing this well in his rookie season. But it would not be ideal for the team to place, 11th, 12th, 13th, not make the playoffs, but lose that draft pick to the Monahan trade, and then lose out on a top 10 pick during a vital rebuild season. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. It's going to be very difficult for the goaltending to hold up at this level because it's stupidly good right now. But yeah, that's the most interesting sort of intrigue around the team for me right now.
Yeah, especially with Dustin Wolf making a run at it. I know we want young players to make a difference in the team, and we don't know if it's just too early yet to make that difference. But again, you always encourage those youngsters to show up, and Dustin Wolf is doing that. We don't know what goaltending will look like down the road come January or the trade deadline. Even does Dan Vladar get traded? Does he stay with the team? All sort of questions, and I think that's open in the air so far, and we'll have to see how it trends too. All right, let's. I think that was all the points we had to talk about the Calgary Flames. If you missed the beginning of the show, viewers, we talked about. What we like, so we like our rookie, so Mac Coronato, how he has performed so far. We like Connor Zari, how he has done so far, and then talking about the dislikes of the team, the power play, it has been horrendous. It has not been performing well as what we expected to. We don't know what that fix will take. And then a few other players as well, Jonathan Huberdeau, Nazim Kadri, Martin Pospisil, who had a great season last season but has not showed up to the expectations this season. And then biggest question up in the air for the Flames is the goaltending. How will that look like? And do we say like, do we keep the goaltending running, or do we make some changes to see how the team trends? So I think that's a good way to wrap up the Flame segment. Now let's head to our rookie, the farm team. That's the Calgary Wranglers down there. So they play this afternoon as well. I think they're against the San Jose Barracudas down in a road trip. So we'll head right into Wranglers talk. So Kent, when it comes to the Wranglers, first question for you: what have you seen from the Wranglers this season? They have had a pretty great start so far. They have surprised. I think they went for like 9 games in a row wins, so and then they got their streak snapped. So what have you seen from the Wranglers so far?
Yeah, they're having a surprisingly good season. Devin Cooley, who they picked up and seemed to be just a fringe goaltender through most of his career. I think he's 27 now, never really established himself in the NHL. He's been one of the best goaltenders in the AHL so far. Flames finally get puck stopping when they're not contending for anything, but that's the way it goes. Um, Rory Cairns was an interesting prospect for me for years. He kind of lost the season to the COVID pandemic stuff, but when he came back, he crushed the OHL. I think in his last year there, um, went pro last year. Didn't kind of bounced around. Went to the ECHL, I think, and was a healthy scratch lot. But now he's leading that team in scoring. I think he scored again today so far. So his step up into back into being an interesting prospect is something to watch for me. There's all the defensemen on the Wranglers too. You've got Soloviev, Grushnikov, Poirier, Kristevich. I mean, there's a lot of guys to watch on that blue line. Some of them are young. They're all pretty young so far, but that's and with Perek and a bunch of other guys coming up behind them, the Flames almost have too many youngsters on the blue line in the organization. Not a terrible problem to have, obviously. Walker Duer is having a really good season too. I don't know what his ceiling is in the NHL, but he's having sort of a Garnet Hathaway emergence. That's kind of what happened with Hathaway back in the day. He looked like a crash and banger, but he went back to the AHL one year, put up a bunch of points, and then never was recalled and never left the NHL. So that's kind of interesting to see if Walker Duer can establish himself too. And then, of course, Jacob Peltier. It's kind of his last chance, I think, to become a prospect of note again for the Flames. So he's having, it sounds like, kind of a point per game season so far in the AHL as well. So I'd like to see if he can eventually make his way back up and stick.
Yeah, there will be a lot of interesting call ups we'll see. Actually, Adam Klapka, who was with the team when Anthony Mantha was injured, he got sent down to the back to the Wranglers, if I'm not mistaken. I think it happened
Yeah.
yesterday. So we'll have to see if that was just a paper move, if they'll bring up Adam Klapka come Tuesday again, or if they will keep running with what they have. That's a really interesting discussion to have. And then you talked about Walker Doher. He's having an amazing season in the AHL. Will he get a call up? Jacob Peltier. He's not been getting those goals, but he's getting those assists as well. Mainly the assists. So we'll be curious to see if he can. And then, like you said, the blue line is jammed. I think they
Mhm.
have options everywhere to choose. Whether if it the Flames need a call up, but I don't think they need it right now because Vigor Mirmanov is there, Bal Anderson is there, and then Bean and Barry is rotating with Pahal. So I think you have a strong pairing there. But ever if you need a call up on the defensive side, you have plenty of options down there as well. And the goaltending as well. Devin Cooley comes to the picture once again because we are talking about goaltending for Calgary Flames. We don't know what Vlada's situation will be. Maybe come the trade deadline, we could maybe see a Wolf or Cooley tandem. We don't know just yet. It's still being discussed. And I think Walter Ignacio, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's
I think so.
also, yeah, he's also. Having a great game. He has had couple odd bad games, but I think he's doing excellent as well. So they can maybe deal with the Connor. I think Connor Murphy is with the rapid rush. So if that's the case, they can go with Connor Murphy and Ignacio in the AHL, and then Devin Cooley and Wolf with the Flames if that needs to be. All right, Ken. One thing other I wanted to talk about. I know you named couple players already, but who do you think will be your curiosity to get the next call up into Calgary Flames from the Wranglers?
I think it'll depend partially on what happens with the parent squad. So if a center gets injured versus a right wing or a left wing or a defenseman, then that will ultimately determine who's kind of up. So if it's a left wing, you're going to look at probably Peltier or maybe William Stromgren, who's had a good couple last games I've heard. So they might be looking at him because he's NHL size. On the right wing, um, yeah, it could be Walker Duehr, given the way he's playing. Who I think Soloviev would be the first pick on the back end if they're going to recall someone. Those are and if Klapka, I assume would probably be near the front of the line too. So those are probably my four most likely recalls.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it depends on what the Flames' needs are. I think right now they have a pretty good lineup so far. If they're winning games, let them keep it the same. No need to blend the lines as we have seen quite often recently.
Mhm.
Bless me. All right. Let's head into our final session, the Q&A session. Viewers, once again, get your questions in. Ken, you can ask me questions. We can chat. But let's head into the Q&A session, the final section that we prepared, free for all, and Q&A session. All right. Let's see if there are any questions in the chat. I don't see any. Um, Keep them coming. We have about 18 viewers. Thanks for joining, everybody. So Kent, I'll ask you, what have you I'll ask you about a couple of players we didn't necessarily talk about. So first one is Kevin Rooney. What have you seen from his performance so far?
Rooney is what he is, right? He's a career sort of fringe player, fourth liner. He can skate well. I think that's really what's kept him in the league over the years, his speed. He's a fairly limited player. He works hard. He's okay on the PK. That's another thing that's probably kept him around. But I expect that he's going to be someone who could potentially be displaced by a younger kid coming up here.
All right, interesting. Yeah, definitely. I think his effort in the penalty kill, I think I agree with that. That has kept him in the lineup. And another question so far. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little here. It's an impromptu question. If you were to choose a song that you would like to play on how the Flame season has gone so far, what song would you choose?
Wow, that's a tough one. I'll have to think about it. What about you?
I would say so. It was a dance that I did when I was in back in junior high school. It was the Glee "Don't Stop Believing" song. I think you can relate with that Flames this season so far. How they don't stop believing, they come back whenever they can, and they try their best. Always, like we described at the beginning of the show, they never really give up or don't quit, despite of the expectations the fans had coming into the season.
I'll go with the Rocky song then. I have the tiger.
Tiger. Yeah, that's good too. Yeah, fantastic one. All right, Kent, thank you so much for joining this evening. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the fun, quick chat. Unfortunately, it's dry on the chat side. Unfortunately, I know it's a Sunday evening. Everybody's
It's Sunday
focus
evening.
mainly Sunday evening. The CFL Grey Cup is happening, so everybody, I think, is plugged into that. But coming up ahead for the Flames, if you're interested, the Flames play this Tuesday at home against the New York Islanders, and then on Thursday again against the New York Rangers. So good, two good teams coming from it. All right, maybe Kent, I'll ask you one final question. What are the score predictions for these two games coming up? So we have New York Islanders in town on Tuesday, and then Rangers on Thursday. Two New York teams.
I think the Flames can beat the Islanders. I don't think it'll be a high scoring game. Let's say 3-2.
3-2.
I think they're going to be in tough against the Rangers. I'm going to take Rangers 4-1 in that one.
Rangers 4-1. All right, good predictions. I like those solid. For New York Islanders, I'm going to say it's going to be a 4-3 win in overtime. And then for the Rangers, I'm going to say 2-1 regulation loss for the Flames.
All right, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. All right, Ken, thank you so much. Oh yeah, one last thing. If you want to plug in yourself, where can people find you and follow any of
Mm.
the work you do? Appreciate it if you can give yourself a little shout as well.
Sure. I'm on Twitter at Kent_Wilson. Um, I have columns at the Calgary Herald or Calgary Sun, depending on where they decide to publish them, usually one or two a month. I have a Discord server called Big Body Presence, which people can join and talk about the Flames all day.
Yeah, I am in that server. I enjoy talking to everybody in there. It's a cool, fun server. So hope you can join that place. And once again, thank you so much, Kent. Appreciate you joining. It was fun chatting with you about the Flames and Wranglers. Have a great
My
evening,
pleasure.
everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you around.